Welcome one and all to Big News Wednesday. Hey everybody, it is a big day in the news. It is a breaking day in the news. We're gonna be getting to all that in just a minute, but first I wanna welcome to the show once again on Big News Wednesday. Sharon Reed is here. Sharon, how's it going?
It's going great. Big News Wednesday is living up to the billing.
It is. Well, it's good to have you here. Reminder to everyone, if you haven't been here in a couple Big News Wednesdays, we do now finally at long last have an emoji to honor Sharon. It is there on both Twitch and YouTube. But we do have a lot that we're gonna be talking about today. Stuff here in the US, stuff abroad, so much going on, insane cabinet meetings, Trump trying to reposition himself as like a champion of workers as he fires all of them. So that will be entertaining. We're gonna dive in once again into the evidence to try to answer the question that everybody is just dying for an answer for, which is Donald Trump dying? We're gonna ask about that and a whole lot more besides. In the aftermath, we will be talking about Taylor Swift, who just got engaged, and Elon Musk, who, you know what, I was gonna say something, I'm gonna save it for the aftermath. I don't wanna make the podcast listen to it. It's a story about gooning to anime pictures of children and how Elon Musk, that is his new obsession in life. And it's becoming a problem for our country. And so we'll be talking about that. and a whole lot more besides. First, though, I do want to mention something that happened right before, as we were getting ready to go live. It's a developing story that I'm sure you're aware of, the tragic shooting at a Minnesota Catholic school. At least as of when I put this into my rundown doc, 2 children had already been killed. Many others, far more than a dozen, had been shot in just the latest mass shooting here in America. And I'm sure, Republicans they're getting their thoughts and prayers tweets ready. They probably save it in their drafts. They don't want to type that up for every mass shooting. That would be a big waste of their time. But these kids were praying when they were shot. That didn't save them. Maybe at some point we can stop offloading the solutions to our problems to people in the sky, and we can put it on people in our capitals, and then maybe they can at some point do something. But let me not speak absurdities. That's definitely not gonna happen. So tomorrow we'll know the full extent of the damage that was done. We might know some more about the shooter, but just to be clear, we're not doing the thing where we imply that maybe this will be the one to break through, because it won't be, and we all know that, Sharon, I think. Any quick comment on that?
No, you mentioned thoughts and prayers. Mayor Fry in Minneapolis said you can keep those.
Yeah.
You can keep them. It's not going to matter to the parents of an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old and all the other ones who are injured. And by the way, just quickly, they're already talking about a mental health and of course gun control. Look, if it is a mental health issue and someone's deranged and they do this kind of hell, do we want to dump more guns around them? Is that the solution? So come on, America, look at your life.
That would seem to be an obvious follow-up. If America, uniquely among all of the nations of the world, just has massive, unsolvable mental health crises, then we got to do a way better job of securing our guns, because we have problems that other countries don't, which means we can't have free access to guns like other countries might. That's a necessary follow-up to that. I also just want to briefly mention, this is what I was planning to start off the show just by mentioning. A lot of you might be familiar, she's a very popular YouTuber. There's a YouTuber named Lindsay Ellis who does these like video essays about a lot of different topics. Sometimes they're just about movies. Years ago, I loved her breakdown of like the Hobbit movies or whatever. Well, she's back with a 2-hour and 20-minute video essay titled "The Unforgivable Sin of Miss Rachel." And I know that me coming on the air and telling you need to go watch a YouTube video that's 2 hours and 20 minutes long is probably gonna seem like an aggressive act, but you should, because I watched it just since last night. It's amazing, and it's only like kind of briefly at the beginning and the end about Miss Rachel and why the right despises her, both for her advocacy for the Palestinian people, but also, yes, she did quit YouTube a while back as she came back to do this evidently, but also for the way that her kids' content works. It gets into a lot about the war on empathy and compassion, about the history of genocide and how little is often done to do anything about it. And it's just this amazing and incredibly well-researched video essay. And so I want to hopefully get her on the show to talk about it. She's very famous and I'm sure very busy with her kids and probably won't be able to do that. But even so, you should go and watch it because it was great. Like, it made me tear up multiple times while watching this thing. In any event, and with all of that aside, we do have a lot that we're gonna be talking about. Hit the like button, share the stream. And with that said, Sharon, are you ready to jump into this thing?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, let's do it. What do Braveheart, The Godfather, and Avengers Endgame all have in common? Those movies are somehow all shorter than Donald Trump's North Korea-style cabinet meeting that he had yesterday. And the vast majority of the runtime of this ridiculous waste of time was his cabinet members kissing his big bloated ass. And so here's a montage of just a tiny bit of that.
There's only one thing I wish for, that noble committee finally gets its act together and realizes that you are the single finest candidate since the Nobel Peace, this Nobel Award was ever talked about.
This is just such a great opportunity really to recognize your leadership as a true champion for working people.
Thank you for saving college football, by the way. We're all very grateful.
In Oregon, where we are expecting a crackdown, thank you for what you are doing with your agents on ICE.
And Mr. President, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to work for you. And
You committed when you ran for president to make America safe again. And today, the average family and individual that lives in this country is safer than they've been in years because of what you've done.
From the troops directly, which they ask me to say all the time, thank you for your leadership, for your boldness, for your clarity, for common sense, for providing a shield for the rest of us to put America first and to apply peace through strength.
Okay, now I don't have an answer to the question that you're all thinking. How did they fit that entire room and the cameras up in Trump's butt where they are all lodged? I don't know. I mean, you can miniaturize technology these days. Maybe that helped. I don't know. A couple points though of so many that we could discuss. First of all, it's the Nobel Peace Prize. Like if you're gonna kiss up to him, could at least like do like a pronunciation guide of the words you put into your brown nosing speech, maybe. What did he do to save college football? I don't even know what that's about. Is that like a trans thing? I honestly don't even know what the propaganda is about at this point, but that's just like my biggest point. And I know I can't get through to MAGA. You guys have such a bizarro world, topsy-turvy idea of what strength is that it will never get through to you, but they know they have to do that. They know that Donald Trump, like a cartoon dragon in a kid's show, needs to be flattered. And he's just gonna sprawl on his pile of gold or his cabinet table. And you all just say a bunch of things about how he's great and saved everything as prices skyrocket. And everybody's safer than they were years ago, which they were before you invaded the cities. We already showed you the numbers. The crime is massively down, but whatever, we'll say that he's responsible for it. And that is just, like, who wants that? I know no Democrat wants that. Do independents want that? Did they vote for Donald Trump to just slump there as his body rots away as a bunch of billionaires? There are 13 billionaires at that table with him, by the way, right-wing populism, as they all compliment him over and over and over again about stuff that he hasn't done or promises he made and then didn't keep. Do Republicans like this? Is this solving your problems? You're paying 40% more for celery and lettuce than you were a few months ago. Does this take the sting out of that when you see Pam Bondi say that Donald Trump is wise as Hammurabi or whatever? Like, who is this actually for, Sharon?
He did it for the show, okay?
The show
Balloon
sucks.
Boy. It's
terrible.
Sucks. Okay, the ratings are on decline. And when you show that picture, that long table, this meeting that went on forever, and all these butt kissers, number one, I thought of a colon cleanse. You know, there's places you can go, and you come out 5 pounds lighter. I did it one time. I was scary. But listen, the next thing I thought of was Comedy Central. This would be gold to have the comedians around the table. And I thought, this already is a parody. This is a parody right here. You have tanks outside of Union Station guarding, I don't know, Auntie Anne's pretzels or something. Like, stop already. You made it safer. College football. I hate Ohio State University. Go blue. This is craziness. I don't even know if it's that interesting to watch. I'd rather watch the program on YouTube that you open the show with, because that would give me some kind of value, emotional, otherwise. This is a cartoon.
Yeah, it reflects obviously so poorly on them. I mean, not in like they know that they have to do this. I guess it shows intelligence. I mean, they're not as stupid as him. They know they have to flatter him or whatever. I mean, you know, they could like have a backbone. They could demand a president deserving of respect rather than baseless lies and flattery or whatever. But it reflects so poorly on him. My God, all of this is happening in public. That they are demonstrating the nation that we know that this pathetic little baby needs us to fluff him in front of the nation for literally. I would be so goddamn embarrassed if that was me. I think anyone out there, and I'll say in particular because they talk so much about masculinity, any man out there should be deeply embarrassed if this is the impression of themselves they'd given the people around them. If we blessedly in a couple of years end up with President AOC and she had a cabinet meeting like that where a bunch of people just puffed her up as she sat there and looked at them or whatever, I would be done with politics because of how utterly sad and pathetic that is. But unfortunately, this is what the cult is. And for some reason, the Republicans just can't see how pathetic it is. Well, it's not just pathetic, it's also very aggressive, because as Trump is puffed up to believe that he alone can save us, he's talking more and more about, hey, maybe it's time for a dictator. Take a look.
I don't love, not that I don't have the right to do anything I want to do. I'm the president of the United States. If I think our country's in danger, and it is in danger in these cities, I can do it. So the line is that I'm a dictator, but I stop crime. So a lot of people say, you know, if that's the case, I'd rather have a dictator. But I'm not a dictator. I just know how to stop crime.
Oh, it's a great line. It's a funny line. All the billionaires sitting around him are making back like, yeah, maybe we should have a dictator. That would be great. I hate democracy and I don't want the people to eventually lynch us. So, when they realize how much we've robbed from them. So maybe we should actually have a dictator, maybe that would be good. We'll call it populism or whatever, but it's really just, it's the same as every right-wing authoritarian government that we've ever had. So yeah, no, all that's bad, not funny. And the line, to be clear, is not he's a dictator, but he stops crime. Did somebody have the impression that's the line we were saying? No, it was that he's a dictator pretending to stop crime. The crime is down. He's going to claim to have stopped it. We made sure that you knew that it was already down. The National Guard is literally being filmed picking up trash in DC because there's nothing else for them to do, because it's insane to send thousands of soldiers into our nation's capital to just stand around the Washington Monument or whatever looking tough. And by the way, I appreciate the irony of them wearing camouflage and then putting high visibility vests over it. That's deeply funny in like a Far Side kind of way. But no, the line isn't that like you're Batman. The line is that you are a failure. You know that your trade policy is terrible. You have no influence whatsoever on the conflicts around the world. You're failing constantly. And as a cheap distraction from both that and the cover up that you're perpetuating to protect the most notorious sex predator in American political history, you're invading our cities. You're turning our military against our own countrymen to distract from your own failures. You're not Batman. You're a petty tin pot dictator. That's all you are. What do you think, Sharon?
Ooh, I love it. Here's what I think. The only truthful thing that Donald Trump said there was that America's in trouble. America's in trouble. It's in danger, I think, whatever he said. That part is true because of him. Pound for pound, he is Kim Jong-un, the love letter guy. That's, you could literally put them side by side, run a clip here, few seconds there. That's what we're seeing here. And I'm going to pledge today that I'm going to stop offending babies. The babies are better prepared and they're so cute. They're just so darn cute. I'm not going to, he's like this greased up butterball turkey that they're constantly buttering. You slather the butter, get it under the skin for Thanksgiving. It really is gross. I'd rather have that. What's that? Tofurkey? That's the one that's not real meat. But anyway, this is actually Kim Jong-un. Tanks on the street, butter up the turkey, okay? And do whatever. I'm the president, I can do whatever I want. And the fact of the matter is, he kind of can. Unless you stop him, he kind of can.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. We're in a very difficult position because there's nobody to stop. Remember, his cabinet the first time around kind of pushed back against some of the worst stuff he wanted to do when he lost the election.
Under investigation.
Yeah,
Sorry.
You think this one is going to stop him? Like they're not going to stop.
Will you
literally
take the
anything.
pledge and not offend babies anymore? We can't compare him to a baby.
I will try not to. But it's gotta come out some way. I don't know. If you'll make a pledge to not reference buttering Trump up anymore, then I'll do it.
Yeah,
anyway, I apologize. With all that happened before the show, we're a little bit behind. So I'm gonna try to catch up a little bit. Let's jump right into this.
The autism is such a tremendous horror show, what's happening in our country and some other countries, but mostly our country. How are you doing on that?
We are doing very well. We will have announcements as promised in September. We're finding certain interventions now that are clearly, almost certainly causing autism.
So there has to be something artificially causing this, meaning a drug or something.
No, there isn't. And he knows that. I mean, more importantly, he doesn't care. Trump does not care at all about this. This is just a thing that he's giving RFK Jr. because he needed the weirdos that support RFK Jr. That's all it is. There's nothing artificially causing that. Do we have to debunk it again? Again, the 1,000th time? They're better at detecting it. That's literally all it is. RFK Jr. probably doesn't know better. The best parts of his brain were eaten by parasites years ago. And he's far too stupid and unqualified to actually understand the literature that he puts on his desk and then doesn't actually read. And so when Trump says, how are we doing on autism? He says, we're doing great. You're doing nothing. What the hell are you talking about? You're making it more difficult for vaccines to be researched. You're firing the actual experts that know anything about them. You're interfering with the vaccine scheduling and all that. You're planning to get rid of the COVID vaccine. None of that can do anything to aid any situation with autism because it has nothing to do with autism. And unfortunately, he is far too stupid to know that. And unfortunately, millions of Americans who look up to RFK Jr. are far too stupid to know that. There is no point in trying to get through to them. Like RFK Jr., they do not have the intellectual capacity to understand the science that they vaguely reference without ever actually looking at. And so, yes, there's autism. It's a thing. RFK Jr. is not gonna cure it in the next year because that's not how literally anything works. And unfortunately, we do not have a president that can look in RFK Jr.'s blank, empty eyes, see the back of the skull reflecting your own image back to you, and then keep him as far as hell away from any influence whatsoever on vaccines. But that's not what's happening. Instead, he's been given unilateral control over it, and far more damage will end up being done in this area than has already been done. He is doing, RFK Jr., everything his most harshest critics have said he would do. That's what he came in to do, to interfere with the science, to get between the doctors and the experts and the actual recommendations, the actual funding that's supposed to go to it. And Trump can just make a stupid little reference to it in his cabinet meeting, then go on about his life, not caring about the damage that's gonna be done, as RFK Jr. does on a wider scale than he's already done on the local scale, encourage the spread of horrid diseases. What do you think, Sharon?
That about sums it up. I mean, here you have a guy who COVID's on the rise and he's about to pull the vaccine. Children are dying of measles. He's swimming in sewage. The CDC is being shot up because of this nonsense. And now the autism. And you know what the saddest part is? There's people out there who just are looking for something to help their children. And he's giving them false hope. I sat next to somebody like that for years before they fired him, my co-anchor, who raised tons of money off of this. He'd always tease it and he'd say, coming up tomorrow, I have a big announcement. This is gonna cure everything. And then they pour in the money. He spoke at Malibu. He went all over the world.
Oh,
false hope. It's cruel. It's cruel. And the only thing I will say about Trump is he does not know. He's not that bright. He just doesn't care. That part I agree with. He just doesn't care. He told us to inject bleach. Clueless. Now you have a
The
headache.
percentage of things that I come to the show wanting to say and then I can say, and the percentage that I want to say and then I have to dial back, it's becoming more of an even split than it's ever been before. So I'm just gonna move on with the rundown at this point, but I'm very worried about the damage, the long-term damage that's gonna be done. God knows the medicines and the breakthroughs that will not now be found as a result of this unnecessary obstacle to actual scientific progress. Okay, let's jump now to this. Trump can't seem to decide who he wants his successor in the MAGA movement to be, but it looks like he knows one person that perhaps he doesn't want it to be, and it's Marco Rubio. Take a look.
Marco has been, really, I think you're born for this job. I don't think you should ever run for another office. I don't think you should, really. You're so good at this.
You know how like Marco Rubio, he cured the conflict in, I mean, he was there as funding was taken away from USAID. I guess there's that. I literally, in the same way that I don't understand when they say that Trump saved college football, I have no idea what he's referencing there. What did Marco Rubio do? What did is Ukraine still at war? Seems like it is. Is Gaza still experiencing ethnic cleansing and genocide? Yeah, it is. Has he did he do something about the famine in Sudan or something? No, I don't know what it is that he's supposed to have done, but it was an inroad for Donald Trump to imply that he shouldn't run for president, I guess. Now, that is a different approach that he took to the topic than just a couple of weeks ago when he seemed to imply that maybe it was between Rubio and JD Vance. Take a look.
You said this morning that you probably won't be running for a third term. This weekend, Secretary of State Rubio said that he thought JD Vance would be a great nominee. You could clear the entire Republican field right now. Do you agree that the heir apparent to MAGA is JD Vance?
Well, I think most likely, in all fairness, he's the vice president. I think Marco is also somebody that maybe would get together with JD in some form. I also think we have incredible people, some of the people on the stage right here. So it's too early, obviously, to talk about it, but certainly he's doing a great job and he would be probably favored at this point.
Love the setup of that question. You've said that you probably won't run for a third term, which obviously you can't do, but we're just gonna normalize the idea that maybe you'll be Vladimir Putin or whatever. Isn't that fun, Sharon? And then Trump has to pretend that he cares at all what happens once he's gone. He does. You think he wants to hand over power and influence in the cameras to literally anyone? No, not one of these chuckleheads who he likely has zero respect for. He wouldn't do it to one of his own kids. You think he cares at all what happens after him? He's not interested. He refused to leave after the first time. So anyway, I can't wait to see a bunch of these people crash and burn trying to take over after him. He's gonna be trying to undercut them, but what do you think, Sharon?
You just described whatever the season Omarosa and Piers Morgan were on the reality show he had, right? You're fired. What he did was he pit them against each other, these two forces. He let them tear each other apart. He weakened both of them. They both came out weaker afterwards, but that's his game. This is a reality show, and he does not want anyone to be the next one. Hand the baton off, a perfect toss like normal people would do who care about their country. He's gonna weaken them both. And in the end, it's gonna be, well, it's never gonna be me again. This is what you're stuck with. Omarosa, Piers Morgan.
Yeah, it's just, look, and Rubio has dodged questions of whether he would run because again, he also knows that if he starts talking about it now, it's gonna deeply offend the incredibly sensitive Donald Trump. But they don't, you think Rubio and Vance like each other? Rubio is 100% inside of his own mind. He's like, well, Marco, you're just doing what you have to get through this difficult period. And then you could be the man you always thought you were gonna be or whatever. Sorry, your party's dead. Whatever you thought the party was gonna be when you ran for it doesn't exist anymore. JD Vance he has no idea what man he's even gonna be at that point. What identity he's gonna be allowed to be and have to put on a pair of jeans or whatever. He has no idea. None of these are men. None of these are real people. They are posers, they are fakes. They don't deserve any respect, and I don't think that they've gotten much even from MAGA. And by the way, Tucker Carlson is probably just gonna sweep in and beat all of them anyway. Oh, this is so pathetic. I'm curious, it'll be dramatic. And I love the idea that if we get into the thick of this, it will represent that Donald Trump either isn't going to be trying to hold on to power or blessedly will have passed from this earth. So perhaps we'll see soon. Anyway, we need to take our first break. Lots more to get to after this. You know what I think would be great is JD Vance runs and all of the other candidates who were not part of the White House use the fact that JD Vance participated in the cover up of Epstein as a weapon against him and turns all the QAnoners against JD Vance. I want JD Vance to be sent running, like Mike Pence, honestly. Maybe not for the same reason, or maybe for the same reason, I don't care. I just hope that he comes out of this with absolutely nothing. Anyway, let's see what's going on out there. Okay, Real Stranak says in a super chat, hey John, when does the Second Amendment apply to a tyrannical government? Soft occupation of cities, what is the spark? Well, see, here's the thing. Obviously, I don't believe in violence. So if you're gonna want an answer about what the Second Amendment has to say about tyranny, I got nothing for you. But you can go watch decades of right-wing content on the topic. they've been very clear about the relationship between those two things. Not me. I'm against it, but Fox News and Rush Limbaugh and Tucker Carlson, all of them, all Alex Jones. Oh, literally watch any random 5 minutes of Alex Jones from the past 3 decades, and he'll tell you all you need to know about what your obligation should be. Again, I disagree with it. But anyway, Dave Schmidt gifted 2 subs over on Twitch. Thank you, Dave Schmidt. Very nice of you. Skittleblood Dragon Wrath says, I'll settle for just 1 week where we aren't the laughing stock of the world. I mean, the laughing stock of the world is hardly the worst thing that we can be, or perhaps should be. Like, yes, the world should laugh at us, but the world should also despise us for us being, willing and active participants in the genocide of the Palestinians. Like, if they're laughing at us, that's a better reaction than we merit as a country, certainly as a government. Anyway, okay, oh geez, there's a lot of super chats. Let's see. McGay says in a super chat, look at your life. I've adopted it as my own, Sharon. I hope you don't mind. That is funny. That would be on your hat. Yeah, that's my hat. Sharon was right. Look at your life.
America, look at your life. Look at your life, America.
Gargoyle Dragon says in super chat, I hate saying it, but thanks DJT for helping to slowly turn Iowa blue. Welcome Senator Caitlin Dre, and thank you for breaking the GOP supermajority. This is big because Northwest Iowa is deep red. Yes, that's referencing the fact that the supermajority in the state Senate has now been broken by that victory, which is awesome, and congratulations. Hopefully it bears some reasonable fruit. Okay, Cosmere Dragon says in super chat, would you do a segment about the current Audible controversy? They're implementing a new plan which could devastate authors in the literary industry. I will need to research that because I don't know what that is. I vaguely think I read a story about them maybe bringing on AI narrators. I think, but I'm not sure, so I'm gonna have to look that up. It's not like the literary publishing industry or authors are. It's going so easy that they need another challenge. So I'm not sure what it is, but I will look it up. Thank you. Blackfire Sasuke says, that made me feel physically ill. It felt like porn. I think that's a reference to the cabinet meeting. DJ Payne says in super chat, I walk away from people who follow these clown corrupt politician base. There's no hope for them. Yeah, I grew up thinking that you see debates or whatever, and I put together books to persuade people. There's so many people that you cannot reach them because they don't want to be, they're not it's not that they think wrongly, that their beliefs are in line with reality. They like their beliefs and they don't care about reality, unfortunately. Okay, with that said, a lot of other messages. We're gonna try to catch up in our next break, but first I think it's time for us to transition to this. Yes, there's references there, Burn the Kiwi Dragon. America is hardly the only government complicit in the genocide in Gaza, but that's the one I live in, so I'm gonna be most harsh and critical about this one. With that said, let's talk about just a little bit more coming out of the insane cabinet meeting from yesterday, starting with this.
If you all haven't stopped by the Department of Labor, Mr. President, I invite you to see your big, beautiful face on a banner in front of the Department of Labor, because you are really the transformational president of the American worker.
So yes, that is a level of propagandistic fluffery of Trump that would make North Korean state TV hosts blush, but the labor secretary is not, strictly speaking, wrong there. When it comes to workers, Donald Trump has been a transformative president. I mean, what else are you supposed to call it when he takes the Department of Labor, which is the only corner of the government that even pretends to give a damn about workers, and turns it into yet another area of the government that's designed to utterly screw over workers to marginally improve corporate profits, or not even, sometimes to just do it out of seeming to like doing that sort of thing. And so the Trump regime is clearly in that ridiculous display with his really big brother face on the side of the labor building there, trying to rewrite the story of Donald Trump when it comes to workers and make him out to be some sort of champion for them. But I'm sure many of you already know he has been anything but, and his war on workers goes back many years. As a CEO, like most CEOs, he utterly despises his workers. He wishes he could snap his fingers and replace all of them. And as a president, he has spared no expense and wasted no moments in going after workers and what little rights they actually still have. And so we're going to jump into a bit of a scorecard for Donald Trump when it comes to workers, starting off with a response to a photo of that thing hanging off the building from More Perfect Union. See, More Perfect Union is an organization that actually fights for workers. And they pointed out in response to the US Department of Labor saying, American workers first, accurately that the Trump administration has attacked and decimated the rights of federal unions, killed hundreds of thousands of government jobs, and firings have hit highs not seen since 2020. And all of that is true, but the full story is far worse. Trump has already forced out nearly 10% of the federal workforce. It is believed that within the next year, 1 in 8 civilian employees of the federal government will have been fired. There will be no savings as a result of that. Every cent that is saved by firing all of these career professionals and experts will just be plowed back into the military. So we're not going to be saving any money, but we will be far less capable of dealing with things like pandemics, natural disasters, all sorts of things like that. And beyond just firing workers, Donald Trump has screwed them over in any number of different ways. And I started to put together like a list of all of the things that just in his second term Donald Trump has done that's screwed over workers, and that would take literally hours. So I decided basically almost at random to just choose some of the ones I found most egregious. And so he has reduced the minimum wage for federal contractors, which could cost these lower wage workers anywhere from 25 to 60% in pay cuts. Bear in mind, these workers were already making the minimum wage. He cut that even lower because screw workers. He fired nearly 2/3 of the staff of the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health because who cares if workers across America are getting injured or sick or maimed or killed on the job? That's not something that we need to do anything about. They can just take care of themselves. He stalled the implementation of a rule that would protect minors from black lung. That's not like a joke one I put in there. Remember, like on the campaign trail, they love to put minors behind them. Like, we Republicans are the ones who really understand minors. He wants them to get black lung. He fired 90% of the staff at an office in the Department of Labor who ensure that federal contractors abide by anti-discrimination laws, and canceled grants for programs to combat forced and child labor around the world. So protect the children from unemployment, I guess. And also, he's a champion of workers. Definitely not the black ones, the brown ones, those who have disabilities, those who aren't Christians, those who might be gay. Screw all of them, by the way. Trump also attacked workers' union and collective bargaining rights. He has removed the right to collectively bargain from over 1 million employees in just 6 months. He fired a member of the National Labor Relations Board for, quote, unduly disfavoring the interests of employers. I didn't slip up there. Employers. She's on the National Labor Relations Board, and he said, you're not being deferential enough to the CEOs. So he fired her from that. Sharon, it could not be more clear whose interests he's there to advance. And I hope that it's going to take more than his ugly mug hanging off the side of a building to fool people into thinking that he's actually a champion for workers. What do you make of it?
And the thing is, when he's gone, how do we get all the graffiti off of these buildings? Somebody's going to have to clean that off of there. And I would say my opinion is that he's also bad for workers who happen to be women working in the salon at Mar-a-Lago. He's not good for them either. He's just the worst of the worst, the lowest of the low. And don't forget, he spends all of this money. You're right. He's not saving a dime. Okay. And it'll go to the military, but don't forget the lawsuits too. All the lawsuits. I mean, it may take a while, but these people are going to get paid what they are supposed to get, justice. We're going to foot the bill. Okay. As somebody, and he claims private money, makes that big ballroom that he's doing the extension. The guy is a wreck. He's a wreck, one-man wrecking ball.
Yeah, a wrecking ball and also a physical wreck, as we're going to turn to in just a sec. But someone in the chat, Civic Folly points out, the Secretary of Labor said, "Your big, beautiful face." Trump.
Do you know what my daughter would say?
What?
If I had that job and she saw me on TV being this stupid kiss up, she'd be like, Oh, gross. I would never live that down. How do you go back to your family doing this?
I don't know. I mean, look, it wasn't the cringiest thing that happened there. He like weirdly flirted with Pam Bondi, a woman that this is crass. I don't want a news show to sound like this is gonna sound. He wants to have sex with his AG. And it's gross. Not just that he wants it, but it would be gross because he's gross. That's really gross. And Trump, I know that you're probably not watching or whatever. You're watching NBC and CNN right now. We know that you are. But like, if you're watching, please know she thinks you're disgusting. The Secretary of Labor thinks that you're disgusting. Carolyn Leavitt thinks that you're disgusting. Laura Loomer, no, she's probably into you actually. But the rest of them, it doesn't matter how much they smile at you and oh, it's nice to have young conservative blondes around you. They think you're a wreck. They think you're Jabba the Hutt, okay? They're lying to your face, and I understand. No guy wants to no longer be attractive or whatever. It's a sad thing that happens or whatever, but there is a certain dignity to understanding that you can be valuable in other ways and that your worth doesn't just rest in your physical attractiveness or whatever. But you can't accept that, and you cling to it, believing that these women, that they like gag at the thought of seeing you topless, are actually interested in you. It's sad, it's pathetic. Anyway, let's talk more about his body, actually. Let's transition now into this as we continue to attempt to answer the question that's on everyone's mind. Is Donald Trump dying? See, the White House is apparently very angry that people are talking about Donald Trump's very public health problems. Author Michael Wolff is saying multiple sources are saying they're raging over this being in the news, and they're getting a little bit desperate to try to put this story to rest. And you have to be desperate to rely on Ronnie Jackson to be like a person who can vouch for Donald Trump's health. Ronnie Jackson, I'll remind you, is the guy that did like the official physical of Donald Trump when he was president and said that he weighed 239 pounds, which is either the most laughable and obvious lie that we've ever seen or proof that Ronnie Jackson needs glasses and can't read a scale. But anyway, now he's back, okay, and he's certainly got time. He's lost all of his other jobs and whatever. He's been run out of Washington in the medical field as a disgrace, and he's reassuring everyone that no. Don't look at Donald Trump's hand or the weird way that he weeble wobbles as he walks or the way that he talks slower and he always seems really tired. And outside of the orange circle on his face, he's like Voldemort white. Don't pay attention to any of that. As President Trump's former physical physician, former physician to the president, that's the same thing. You can just say one of those. And White House physician for 14 years across 3 administrations, I can tell you unequivocally, President Donald J. Trump is the healthiest president this nation has ever seen. I continue to consult with his current physician and medical team at the White House and still spend significant time with the president. He is mentally and physically sharper than ever before. No, he's not. No, he's not. This dude did presidential physicals on Barack Hussein Obama, and he's gonna tell us Trump's in better shape. Who the hell thinks that? I know that's not true. You know that's not true. Melania damn sure knows that's not true. And I don't think anybody's buying it. Now, in Ronnie Jackson's defense, he's hardly qualified to do this sort of analysis. He doesn't have a current medical license, by the way. His license expired. He was stripped of his military rank after a series of scandals. Remember, he was apparently making like sexual comments in the White House and getting drunk and popping pills. And there was this whole culture of like it being really easy to get pills thanks to his presence there and all of that. And so like this isn't reassuring to people. It's gonna take more than just like hiding behind Ronnie Jackson. Maybe it's gonna take like hiding your actual hands. And as Sharon, as you tune in, we're gonna show you a little bit of Donald Trump's recent moves to not have his hands be visible in these meetings anymore. What do you think?
I can see why he's trying to hide them. Look, Ronnie Jackson, as you mentioned, it's just pathetic. He's really reached a pathetic point in his life, and I'm sure there were other dark periods, perhaps the whole thing. He's not an admiral, but he still continues to refer to himself as an admiral, okay? He doesn't want us to believe what we can actually see with this president who celebrates Cinco de Mayo on a plane with Taco Bell in front of him. I mean, this is silly. Just say he's doing the best he can. He goes through Diet Cokes and all kinds of things, KFC. Stop it, Ronnie. Stop it.
It's just like, so now he's got props where he'll have one hand over it and he'll have his other hand behind, or like the one hand is like under the table or whatever. I don't know, maybe trying to grope one of his cabinet members, I'm not sure. And when he does his Oval Office meetings now, they have gotten a coffee table that goes in front of him so that you can't see his legs or whatever. And I understand that he's a very vain man or whatever, but like, where is this going? Like every week there's a new body part of yours that you have to block from the camera. Is this gonna end up as like the Wizard of Oz, where it's just like a big floating hologram of his face and you can't see him because he's behind a curtain? Or maybe he could get a pair of those Always Sunny in Philadelphia fake hands to just have on top of his so that you can't see the bruises and everything. Anyway, he's focused on covering up the outward facing evidence of his medical problems. But what people suspect is going on is that this is not just a visual thing, that it's a representation of deeper problems. And you can't hide those forever, like behind a coffee table. Those just might catch up to you. Anyway, with that said, we're gonna take a short break. When we come back, we need to talk more about more firings actually inside of the government. We'll be back with that after this. Blanco Bull says the Resolute desk is not a coffee table, John. I'm not talking about the Resolute desk. Although I don't think Donald Trump does it for much more than holding his cups or whatever. That's the Diet Coke table, I guess. Anyway, okay, Salt of the Union says in the members' comments, minors or minors both get effed. Yeah, he's screwing over both, actually. Knuckle Dragon says comic books have better science in them than Trump's administration, 100%. Let's see, DJ Payne became a member, super nice of you, thank you for that. Dragon Dancer gifted a membership, thank you. CDN North Dog Dad gifted a membership yet again. Cosmic Uwu's gifted a membership yet again. Green Goat gifted 5 more memberships, thank you, Green Goat. The Masked Focker's been a member for 55 months and says White House, the reality show script reading, that's what that was. I think, should they just stop like having the cameras on? Like they don't have to actually, if it's just them fluffing Trump. I mean, was any, like I'm trying to think, was any actual like policy news unveiled? I mean, I guess they revealed that he had saved college football, I suppose, which is good to know. Although it was lacking in details. Yeah, no, I think it's just a campaign rally, except he's too tired to actually go to the arena. I think they just have it in there now. Anyway, Hubby Dragon, member for 18 months, says, John, Sharon, stop giving South Park ideas. Oh my God, remember, South Park does the amazing thing where, like, even though it's a cartoon, they make the show in just a couple of weeks. They could totally do a thing about his body sort of rotting or his hands or whatever. I mean, it's pretty, it looks like he's been like hunting down Horcruxes or something at this point. Like, I feel like they might end up covering that.
Don't forget the cankles. He's retaining fluid. I'm not a doctor, but I can tell you he's retaining massive amounts of fluid. They've got to.
That's how selfish he is. He's keeping all the fluid to himself. Anyway, I'm not a doctor either. I have that in common with Ronnie Jackson. Justin Other Dragon, member for 15 months, says Sharon's emoji needs to be saying, okay. We just got the emoji and you want me to edit it already?
So bad. I'm working on it.
Okay, let's see. Leo, member for 55 months, says, I'd like to take this time to remind everyone, autistic people don't necessarily need to be cured. That's a great point. Helped, sure, accommodated, yeah, but not cured. F off Junior, yeah. Look, that's in addition to all the obvious lies about the science and all that, the framing of it as this thing that desperately needs to be solved. I know, because we've covered this so many times, I know how much that bothers a lot of people, and you're totally right. Let's see. A Florida Dragon, member for 54 months, that comment is a little bit too gross for me to read, but thank you for being a member. I do appreciate it. DJ Payne says in a super chat, Marco Rubio is a self-out. He should have immediately turned in his Latino card and rock a fascist hoodie. I mean, he's basically rocking the hoodie at this point. No, it's gonna be great. Like after Trump's heart pops or whatever, how all of these guys try to reinvent themselves and try to reassert like that they're big tough and they're their own men or whatever. But we know, we've been watching, we know what they were when it mattered. DJ Payne also says in a super chat, Trump's heart will pop after the midterms from all that Big Mac sauce and we will live happily ever after. I don't know. I know a lot of people believe that the evil ones always live a long time, like Dick Cheney's still kicking around somewhere. But I don't know. I'm also perfectly happy to be pleasantly surprised on a random Wednesday. Before we jump into our final stories, Gargoyle Dragon in a super chat gave a suggestion. The little images that we put up in the intro to the show says Trump as Violet Beauregard from Chocolate Factory for intro. Oh no, the hand, like the white circle of that like drywall spackling paste you use. That's got to be one of those. Actually, can you remind me, producer Ashley? I don't want to forget that. In 3 years when I update the intro. Anyway, with that said, let's jump back into some more news, starting with this. We are in the middle of hurricane season, and after Trump was warned that FEMA was in their own words, a pre-Katrina readiness state for hurricanes, how did he respond? He fired a bunch of the people that were warning him that FEMA's not ready to deal with natural disasters. And bear in mind, FEMA was already short-staffed, it's already had resources pulled, and it's actually slated for execution in the near future. But they also kind of needed those workers, and these are workers with recent relevant experience. Many of them worked in response to the Texas floods, and they were only doing their job, their obligation to warn the government that we're not ready for these crises. And so, of course, the messengers have been shot. The Trump administration placed more than a dozen FEMA employees on leave just yesterday after they signed an open letter of dissent about the agency's leadership. At least 2 FEMA staff members who were part of the federal response to July's flooding disaster in Texas have been placed on leave. And by the way, in total, about 180 current and former FEMA staffers signed on to this letter, arguing that the current leader's inexperience, which is true, and approach to natural disasters harms FEMA's mission and could result in a disaster on the level of Hurricane Katrina. Let me give you a little bit more from the letter, and then we'll discuss what happens as a result of them firing these people. So in the letter, FEMA employees pointed to several concerns, including the lack of a Senate-confirmed and qualified emergency manager at the helm of FEMA, the slashing and mitigation, disaster recovery, training and community programs, and restrictive new policies that curb agencies' official autonomy. The letter also requested that federal lawmakers defend FEMA from interference by the DHS, protect the agency's employees from politically motivated firings, conduct more oversight, and ultimately take FEMA out of DHS and establish it as an independent cabinet-level agency in the executive branch, which I have not thought about recently, but yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. Of course, they're going the opposite direction. They're actually going to kill it. And so I want to focus on the fact that they said, hey, could you protect us from politically motivated firings? And Trump's like, yeah, that's interesting. Could you fire all the people that signed on to this actually? Because I don't like their politics. It's politically incorrect. So last month, 140 EPA employees were similarly put on leave after a similar sort of letter. And I like it, these people are in their own way, to their own capacity, American heroes. They're putting their careers on the line to warn everyone that when it comes to FEMA, when it comes to the EPA, the government is putting all of us in grave peril. And they paid the price for it. They lost their position. Sharon, what do you think?
Yeah, and they've created a record because just the way it is, nature, mankind, however we got here, there's going to be more carnage, death. There's going to be powerful storms. I mean, you have people who are still missing from the floods down in Texas. And remember the emergency manager in Hawaii who wasn't qualified and didn't sound the alarms when the fires destroyed and killed people out there, Maui? Remember all of that? So this is going to happen. It's sad. It's tragic even before we can say that. And then Trump will stand before a podium. He won't go down there unless he's throwing toilet paper and paper towels at people. He'll blame Biden or something, maybe Obama, Brownie. Hell of a job, Brownie.
No, that's, Sharon, that's literally all that I could think about during this, because I don't know about you, but because it's 20th anniversary of Katrina, these new documentaries have come out, and we watched a couple of them, and it put me back in that frame of mind that this is what you get when you don't actually take any of this stuff seriously. And what will they do? They'll never own up to their mistakes. They didn't with Katrina. Now there was political damage to them as a result of it, but they blame the people. They did that to us here in LA with the fires. That's what he's going to do. And like, you might be a Republican watching this. You might think, well, that's okay. He'll blame the blue states. No. Like, you're gonna be desperate for help. It was Texas that had the flooding. He didn't want to help them. You are all going to be thrown under the bus because he doesn't want to spend any money on this, because he doesn't care if you live or die. And he couldn't be any more clear about it. I apologize, I cut you off. Feel free to finish your thought.
No, the other thing is, he also, after it's all said and done, like in New Orleans, Katrina, the fires, he and his cronies and 1%ers will take advantage. See, they can make money off of that. The rebuild, taking people's property, maybe eminent domain, I don't know. He'll do whatever he can to benefit from it. He doesn't care, but he'll see it as an opportunity.
Yeah. Do you think that after whatever disastrous natural disaster is coming, Kanye West will pop back up to remind us that Donald Trump doesn't care about black people? I don't.
Probably he'll have to do it on his YouTube channel. He's not invited to these telethons anymore. Remember Mike? Was it Mike Myers?
It was
Who
Mike
standing
Myers,
next to him? Like,
Mike
what?
Myers might be invited. I think they're making a new Shrek, actually. But yeah, I think it was Mike Myers. Anyway. Okay, well, with that said, why don't we move on to one more topic to close out the hour. A GOP representative who's running for Senate in Georgia just got caught at a hot mic saying the quiet part out loud. Listen to this.
The Epstein files. Do you think Trump's in there?
Yeah, I'm sure he's in there. Because he's the one that was telling the FBI about it. He's the one that kicked the guy out of Mar-a-Lago and then called the FBI. Yeah, he's in there.
So, what's going to happen? Are you going to vote to release him, or vote to keep him?
Oh, we need to release him.
You want to vote to release
him? I have no problem releasing him. But, you've got to go through the judicial. We all know that.
So that is Representative Mike Collins there saying, yeah, no, obviously Donald Trump is in the Epstein files, which is true. It is obvious. It might not be honest to people who watch Fox News because they don't know anything about the Epstein files because there's a total blackout on talking about it. They know a lot about Sydney Sweeney's jeans, admittedly. They know a lot about Cracker Barrel, but they don't know anything about one of the most obvious and fumbling and bumbling political cover-ups in living memory. But I do think that while it's good, I guess, that Mike Collins can admit it and say, probably lying, that he will vote to release the files. The idea that Trump is only in the files because like he informed on Epstein, that's what Mike Collins would have you believe. Yeah, he was the one that went to the FBI and talked about Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, so look, we shouldn't have to respond to that because that's obviously ridiculous. And this is yet another, I won't say baby boy because I don't want to offend Sharon. This is another idiotic, dumb donkey of a supposed man pretending to believe that. But let me just say, if Donald Trump had warned the FBI about Epstein, and that's how they got Epstein, do you think that Donald Trump would ever stop saying that? He would be asking for the Nobel Peace Prize as a result of that. So no, Mike Collins, that's not what happened. He's in the files because he was Epstein's best friend for decades, and many of the people that testified about Epstein had interactions with Donald Trump. It doesn't mean that Donald Trump's inclusion in the files link him to criminal activities or anything like that, but he's gonna pop up in there because he was one of Epstein's best friends for the better part of my entire life. It's not because he was informing on him, it's because he was in his social circle and they had similar interests. Anyway, we'll see if this ends up hurting Mike Collins. I don't know what the standards are in Georgia at this point for a Republican, Sharon, but what do you make of this?
I can tell you they're not high. I think this could have even been a setup. I think this is a fake hot mic. Let me kiss his butt, okay? I think this was sanctioned and approved perhaps, okay? Trump's telling everybody else, stop talking, we're still talking about this, except for Ghislaine Maxwell saying, nothing inappropriate ever did I see with this president. Might I say admire him for what he's achieved. We have the Access Hollywood tape. You mean to tell us nothing? You saw nothing ever? So I don't know. Maybe I'm just too far into this thing, but this guy, get out of here.
Yeah.
Go sit down. Go sit down.
By the way, if we just zoom out a little bit to this thing, I think most people understand. I think we came to this conclusion the last time we talked about it. The utter, like the deferential submission of the supposed, and never use the term independent to refer to the right-wing media without doing this because they're just unpaid employees of the Trump campaign. They're not paid by Trump, they're paid by right-wing billionaires, to be clear. Every one of them was like, yeah, no, we care about the kids and we love Trump, but we're gonna stay on this story. Remember Charlie Kirk? Immediately turned away from it. Immediately talking about anything else they can talk about. All that stuff about saving the children and fighting the PDF files and all that. As soon as it was their side that was in the crosshairs, they did exactly what a bought and paid hack pretend set of journalists would do. And so I think that it's largely succeeded. I mean, the Democrats they don't have the power to force the documents to come out. Donald Trump just says it's stupid, you don't have to pay attention to it. The right-wing media literally doesn't even like all these super suspicious things about like behind the scenes, all these sources saying that Donald Trump is bad-mouthing the victims, all that stuff. None of the right-wingers are seeing any of that news because Fox News isn't talking about it. The independent right-wing media isn't talking about it. And so most people, I think, have actually moved on. And some people's opinion of Donald Trump will have been changed because this was so obvious and offensive and all that. But most of the rest of them, at the end of the day, they proved themselves to be what we feared they were. They're just tribal partisans, that's all. They could go years of pretending to care about children being, trafficked by elites or whatever. It turns out it's their elites doing the trafficking and they prefer being a part of that club to sticking to their supposed values. That's what it seems like coming out of it. Now, there are way more people that say that Trump has handled the case poorly than have handled it well. But there's 18% of the country that says he's handled it excellently. Excellently. What exactly has he done that's excellent? He moved her into a minimum security prison. Is that excellent? Is that great? Is that wonderful? Hunky-dory? I don't know. I mean, he hasn't released the documents. We know that he's in it. He's never met up with the victims. He's never said anything nice about the victims or bad about Maxwell or Epstein. They still haven't released the 3 minutes of that tape that we find out was not actually necessarily cut out of it. They just edited it. We're never gonna see that, by the way. 18%, I mean, I guess that 18% of the country is like literally RNC members. I don't know. Any final thoughts before we close?
No, I just think, listen, these Epstein files and everything that went down, it'll come to light eventually. It could be 10 years from now before we find out everything. And that's on everybody, not just Trump. Okay, and what went down at Mar-a-Lago and the salon and all of it. We'll learn it. But as you said, people have moved on. I thought that the National Guard issue might help usher in some breathing room. And I think it's true. People have said, well, I think we're out of here. I do think if they take your idea, though, of running against him and bringing up JD, you were one of the people who covered up that. I would give it new life, but it's just sad at this point.
Maybe. Yeah, they can't hit Trump on it, but maybe they can hit some of the others, like when Pete Hegseth tries to run for president or whatever. Bondi or whatever. Yeah, maybe we have that to look forward to. Well, that is unfortunately all the time we have, but there is more to come in the aftermath, including Taylor Swift. Is she hot again? We'll evaluate the evidence. And also, Elon Musk has a problem, and it's scantily clad anime kids. We're gonna have to dive into that, unfortunately, as uncomfortable as it might make us. We'll be back after this with more. Welcome back, one and all, to the Aftermath. Glad to have you here with me and Sharon. By the way, I saw a comment about this, but yeah. So Trump took control of Union Station because people made fun of J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller and Pete Hegseth. And look, I just think that if you're going to try to take control over every place that those three goobers get made fun of, I don't think that we have the troops for it. I know we have a big military, but people mock them everywhere. But anyway, yeah, that happened. He's just taking control of a train station because his people didn't get a good reception there. This is madness, utter madness.
Says they're going to get new elevators. Duffy, transportation secretary, they're going to get new elevators, a new roof. There was a report that his wife, somebody was hurt or killed there a while back after she had passed through. So it could have been an hour, I don't know, but something has to be done. That's just why it's happening.
Yeah, this is Mussolini bullet. Oh, I almost swore full out there. Where it's just like, our administration can see this building. That's the only thing that matters. We can see that build. That's the transportation issue. By the way, I've been to Union Station once in my life. Maybe it's rough. Maybe it needs renovations. I don't know.
Beautiful.
But it's the obsessive focus on what you can see as planes are falling out of the sky and everything. Gotta hate these people. Okay, we're gonna lighten things up from the way I was just acting, okay, and talk a little bit about some pop culture. Okay, let's jump into this.
To ask you a serious question, but I have to tell you the biggest pop culture news of the year broke while we were in this cabinet meeting. Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are engaged, and the world wants your reaction, sir.
Now, if you're expecting Donald Trump to give one of the weirdest responses to that you've ever seen, then that's a good instinct because he generally does. But actually, he managed to keep it semi-dignified this time around.
Well, I wish him a lot of luck. I think he's a great player. I think he's a great guy, and I think that she's a terrific person. So I wish them a lot of luck.
That's strange coming out of him. It's weird. I'm expecting him to start swearing obscenities or something, but no, now he likes both of them. And that is certainly a change of pace from how he has previously talked about them. Back in September 2023, when it was reported that they were starting to date, he did say, I wish the best for both of them. But then he went on to say, I hope they enjoy their life. Maybe together, maybe not. Most likely not. F you, what the heck? What is wrong with you, you strange little man? But anyway, in February of last year, he accused Swift of being disloyal to him if she were to endorse Joe Biden. Well, bear in mind, you already said the previous thing about how they're going to be breaking up. I think it's not disloyalty if she doesn't go with you at that point. But then you might recall he posted this really strange and what should probably be illegal fake series of fake endorsements of him by Taylor Swift, pretending that she and her base likes Trump. That wasn't true. How is that not illegal that you pretend that a very notable celebrity has made an endorsement of you in a presidential election? But that's not the strangest thing he did. No, it was in it was August 2024 when the soon-to-be president of the United States posted on Truth Social, I hate Taylor Swift. Now then he went on to say, has anyone noticed that since I said, I hate Taylor Swift, she's no longer hot? And I saw that and I thought, wait, is she not hot anymore? So I frantically Googled her and I saw a photo of her. Like, no, actually, she still is. I don't know what you were worried about. She's still quite hot. But no, he had previously been the president of the United States, Sharon, and he would be president again. And he posted in all caps that he hates a pop singer. And that was for some reason not the end of his political aspirations. What do you think?
He needs counseling. Here's the thing, the well wishes will not last, as you pointed out. I think Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are smart enough not even to react to this. He's just not part of their orbit. And the fact that they didn't say thank you, because he'll make this proposal, this engagement all about him. He will take to Truth Social and he will curse them. You know, it's bound to happen. So yeah, good luck. He won't be invited to the party, you know, the whole thing. It's, come on. This guy.
Yeah, exactly. Now he was kind of a human, but the right wing's very big. You think they're all going to be able to be normal when it comes to Taylor Swift? Not so much. Taylor Swift got engaged, and many people around the world are happy for her. Her fans, or even just regular people, but others are being very strange about it. And Charlie Kirk just might be the strangest of all.
Getting married changes you. And I hope that America's biggest pop star marrying the pharmaceutical spokesperson ends up conservatizing them. Taylor Swift might de-radicalize herself. She might come back down to reality. I want them to have lots of children. It teaches you something about yourself. I've seen this happen time and time again. When people start to get married and have children, it starts to change your politics. It starts to clarify your worldview. And for Taylor Swift, who obviously is very popular and incredibly supported, Taylor Swift might go from a cat lady to a JD Vance supporter. And I think we should celebrate that.
Yeah, so that right there is why a lot of women don't want to date right-wing men. They're creepy little weirdos, and they can't hide it. They don't think they even need to try to hide it anymore. That's strange. Can, getting older, getting married, having kids, can that change you? Yeah, it can. Doesn't always change you for the better. I mean, Charlie Kirk has kids. He's still just everybody's creepy, as you saw right there, and he's an apologist for literal genocide. And so you can have a bunch of kids and still be hot garbage, okay? I'm not so much worried about Taylor Swift. Her values seem pretty well placed at this point. Her and Travis Kelce, despite both being rich celebrities, seem to have an admirable and very normal relationship, which few MAGA celebrities can claim at this point. And so that's just they're very weird people. And like, they always have to glom on to the pop culture stuff to try to stay relevant, but they don't like any of it. They don't like artists or art. And so it's always weird and hypercritical and everything. They're very strange people. Let's go to some others.
She should have more children than she has houses. That is my challenge, Taylor Swift. And I'm not being sarcastic. I think that if she ends up having children, she'll stop this kind of liberal endorsing Joe Biden nonsense. And we want Taylor Swift on Team America. We want you to leave the island of the wokies. And we would welcome you with open arms. One of the reasons why so many people on the right have been just skeptical or at least a little bit negative on Taylor Swift is, up until this point, that's not a great role model for young women, to wait all the way until you're 35 and just put your career first. We just talked about this with Katie Miller. However, there's a great chance to change that. It's a great chance for Taylor Swift now to get married and have a ton of children. You can certainly afford it, Taylor. Reject feminism. Submit to your husband, Taylor. You're not in charge. And most importantly, I can't wait to go to a Taylor Kelce concert. I can't say it without laughing. You got to change your name. If not, you don't really mean it.
Was that supposed to be funny? It was very weird. And it wasn't just that it was poorly delivered. And it wasn't just that the entire thing had his trademark bizarre facial tics and twitches and everything. No, that was all very strange. That turns off women. That's why women don't support your side. They know that you hate, you feel entitled to women, but you also despise them. You want to control their bodies and the choices that they make while knowing nothing about them and having no curiosity. It's deeply disturbing to most women, I think. Thankfully, I'm sure that Taylor Swift is not going to listen to literally any of this. She can choose to change her name or not. I think that she can handle that herself without needing Charlie Kirk's endorsement for that. So anyway, all that's super strange, Sharon. What do you make of it?
I have to tell you that clip gave me chills. And not because of the misogynistic nonsense that he talked, but I just Googled Eddie Munster. There was always something about Charlie Kirk's hair that maybe, and I just figured out what it is. Like, literally, they're twins. That said, Taylor Swift is all about female empowerment. This is like her whole thing. She's a story. You said they don't like artists. They don't like storytellers. Yeah, she's a brilliant storyteller. Stay the hell out of her womb. This is grifting. This is let me start a culture war. Let me get my piece of the pie off of the, Taylor Swift, Travis, Kelce union. That's all it is. It's just pathetic again. But you ought to Google this Eddie Munster. I mean, it's incredible. It really is incredible.
Brett might have once actually done that as part of his garbage.
Oh,
person.
you have? Okay.
Anyway, I want to close by saying, in the past, I would have thought, we are a country that has free speech. And if a pundit wants to opine on the politics of a celebrity, you can do that. But I lived through the whole Sydney Sweeney thing. So now I understand that the only rational response I can give is, why do they hate beautiful women? What a weird political strategy to be hating on hot, blonde, thin women, you creepy weirdos. That's how they do it. Okay, we can do the same thing. Anyway, man, they love talking about her sex life and everything and obsessing over how many kids she's gonna have. Do they think this makes women be interested in them or their politics? I can't imagine that it does. They're very strange people, and it's only gonna get stranger from here on out, by the way, as we move on into the aftermath, everybody. I'm gonna read one or two comments. Amber Jack, 34 months supporting us on Twitch, says, did everyone see that Cracker Barrel backtracked already and returned to their old logo? I did, and I think that they should, because I think the old logo is better than the new one. The fact that the right implied that it was woke, and so now that they've gone back, they defeated wokeness with Cracker, but none of that makes any sense to a sane person. What does wokeness have to do with literally any of this? Cracker Barrel seems like the most right-wing restaurant imaginable based on branding alone. If anything, this is you guys having a civil war. But anyway, yes, they did change the logo back. Anyway, with that said, let's move on to what is rapidly going to become one of the most objectionable stories we've ever covered here on the Damage Report. Elon Musk's obsessive and constant and furious masturbation while gooning over scantily clad anime children has become a serious issue for our nation. I'm talking about the national security of America, and I'm talking about a threat to the health and well-being of you and your family. Allow me to make the case. See, Elon Musk, like every tech douche in America, owns an AI company and makes AI chatbots. But unlike most of them, he's not hiding that the end goal of all of this billions of dollars in investment and gobbling up fresh water and electricity is basically just designed to produce technological aids to masturbation. In fact, he's advertising it constantly on Twitter with posts like this, where he says nice to a strange thong image of his AI chatbot girl that you can discuss with Grok. See, other people posted it. He's not even tagged in that photo, by the way, but trust, he found it and he said nice about it. And that right there, there's a couple different people that you can have Grok look like to talk with. That's the one that's made to look like an anime child dressed in lingerie. Elon Musk approved that. And now he's advertising. He loves it. And it gets worse from there, by the way. He said this, and he's okay to this one, of the little girl wearing, I guess, a thong bikini or something. That's not a private DM that got leaked. He posted that publicly of a almost nude child that he designed for you to have risque conversations with. That's not great. Now, in this particular case, he seems to have belatedly realized that that's super creepy when he got criticism from his fans, including people like CA Patriot, who said, she looks like a 13-year-old in lingerie. So he actually deleted that tweet, but for the most part, he does not. And while he posts a lot of this creepy goon bait or whatever, he also goes around, as we showed, and reposts the ones that other people post, including this video. Take a look. So good points in that video is that they don't look underage, at least. They look, I guess, like adult women. That video, by the way, went on for nearly 3 minutes of just one woman after the other turning and looking at that's the whole thing. And he was very excited about it. And so he posted this reply, wow. And this is just Grok Imagine Beta, Imagine version 1. Oh, okay, I'm imagining it. What would they have higher resolution? What exactly would be better about? And just bear in mind, we are baking Earth to produce those sorts of videos. Okay. He also shared this one, by the way. It's a marvelous technology. In that particular case, the guy who originally posted it also posted the prompt that he gave Grok to produce it. And in it, he said he wanted stunning Colombian women with a golden tan and flawless smooth complexion in a revealing tribal style leather getup, which I guess is what he got. And the richest man in the world tweeted it out to his hundreds of millions of followers. Not only the video, but the specific gooning instructions that the guy put in his tweet, and it's everywhere. Now, Elon Musk appears to have started to get that this is deeply uncomfortable for a lot of people. So he's like trying to hide the fact that he's just spreading the masturbatory aids and making it seem as if it's something more enlightened than that. Like this guy put out this tweet. It's a video of this woman with stars on her skin. She's topless, by the way. And he said, Elon, making consciousness multiplanetary is essential for its long-term survival. What does that have to do with the woman? I don't know. But that's what the tweet was that he sent out. And look, a lot of his followers don't seem to like when you point out that someone you used to consider a genius is now sort of spreading his masturbatory aids on Twitter. Tara tweeted, "Don't post AI soft porn for at least 1 day challenge." And that triggered so many Trump Elon cultists. DeAndewese says, "Go have some babies." To which Tara replied, "I have already birthed 4 babies at home all by myself without a midwife and caught them into my hands and cut the cords myself and fed them with milk I made for my own body. You ignorant swine. Watch your tone when you speak to me." And I love Tara. I want her to be the president of the United States. But unfortunately, she's not. Some of his actual followers are trying to warn him away from this sort of behavior, saying that it's not helping his reputation. Others are worried about the opportunity cost of all this gooning. Alofi says on Twitter, "Bro, stop gooning to AI anime and take us to Mars." Others are realizing that this is in fact an opportunity, since Elon Musk is spending hours every day just like looking for this sort of material on Twitter. They're using it to communicate with him. Like Robin, who posted a video of a very large-breasted anime woman walking forward with a sign that says, "Elon, when is the Starship technical update?" And Elon Musk replied to it. Now, the Starship didn't actually take off that weekend. It didn't end up working out. But Sharon, I want to bring you in now. This is what the richest man in the world is spending a lot of his time on. Go to his Twitter account right now and you'll find more recent images and videos. And as a result of all of this AI stuff, I will remind everyone, he's poisoning communities. Memphis is now experiencing rises in pollution thanks to his Grok supercomputer sites, which are designed to produce those sorts of images. Sharon, I apologize, but what do you think?
Yeah, it's just disgusting. He probably has an addiction already. That's my opinion. Listen, if I had his billions, I would hope to do some good. This guy is a sicko. You know, the first image you showed, it's called Lolicon. He's bordering on Lolicon. Okay, what is that? Anime, children in compromising positions. I'm not suggesting that was all the way there. It's against the law too, but you're polluting the minds of people. I thought AI was supposed to make us better. I understand that he doesn't have much luck with living, breathing women, actual humans, but this objectifying us. Let me put in a prompt for look at you, put in a prompt to make you look better in your milky belly. Okay, Elon? It's just weird. Like, yeah, I understand that everybody has their own thing and you shouldn't be, this is normal, this is abnormal. He's abnormal there. That's just what I believe. It's gross.
Yeah, I want to be very clear. I have no problem with people, getting up to whatever they're going to get up to. I think it's healthy. I think it can be good for you or whatever. I do think that when you're producing it, endless amounts of it through AI, there is a cost to that. Okay, there's a cost in water, there's a cost in electricity, there's a real cost to producing in that way. But even so, if like regular lonely people or whatever want to use it, I don't think that that's necessarily a problem, and I wouldn't do a whole segment mocking it. But when the richest person in the world who controls a president is spreading it endlessly publicly on their social media and making very clear that that is what grok is about, yeah, I think that that's a little bit strange, okay? I think that that's strange. Anyway, unfortunately, I went on a little bit long about that, so we're not gonna get to the MAGA love trubs. That's gonna have to wait potentially for tomorrow, or maybe we'll save it for Brett on Friday. Do we have Brett on Friday? I think that we still have Brett on Friday. He's gonna be out next week. Anyway, Sharon, thank you. I apologize for making you see all of that, but I appreciate you being here.
Wish you would have saved this for Brett, and I did the other story. But
hey, we'll do more of it.
I just wanted
for
to
Brett.
Keep it private, Elon. That's the sharing part. You're right. But thank you. This is an enlightening show.
Thank you. Maybe not the last bit, but other than that, I think we did a good job. Anyway, and thank you everybody out there. Tomorrow, in fact, will be a solo John show. So please come keep me company on tomorrow's program. For now, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and we'll see you soon.